It's, you know, this is Docklands.
Is that okay?
Sorry, I'm just saying this is Docklands Tour.
Yeah.
This area?
Yeah. And this is the Docklands Tour.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I am.
Hi there, good afternoon everybody, welcome on board. You're with me on the big road on your maps. This is the Docklands road. Round trip should take us somewhere around 45 minutes, traffic permitting. Just getting away from our stop one here, we're on O'Connell Street. This is the main street of our capital city. Named after the first Catholic elected Lord Mayor of Dublin. That gentleman's name was Daniel O'Connell. And that took place back in the 1820s. Our first stop after this is Dublin City Gallery and the Dublin Writers Museum. Dublin City, it evolved from a Viking trading post back in the 9th century, but the shape of the city is essentially a Georgian city developed in the 18th century. All the streets, well, most of the streets, certainly in the city centre, were laid out during this period. The building directly ahead of us, that circular building, that was built in the 18th century. It was an add-on to this building around the corner here on our right-hand side, completed in 1757. It was then known as Dr. Moss's Lying-In Hospital. And it was then a maternity hospital, and it still is a maternity hospital. So that makes it the world's oldest still functioning maternity hospital. When the area was laid out in the 18th century, this was a really affluent area of Dublin. Up along here on our left-hand side, some of Dublin's Georgian houses, 4-storey over basement. Each of these houses was a private family home. And they were the homes to the ruling classes, the Protestant ascendancy. Stop 2 just coming up ahead of us here. And the building now just slightly recessed into our left. This was also a private family home. This was the home of the Lord Chamberlain, an absolute mansion built in Portland stone. It now houses the Dublin City Gallery, open 6 days a week, Tuesday through Sunday, free admission. It's a really well appointed art gallery and there's a decent coffee shop in there. free admission if I didn't mention that. Just down the left hand side, the last red brick building. This was one of the family homes of the Jameson Whiskey people, one of their city homes. And that building now houses Dublin's Writers' Museum. Dublin is just one of a handful of UNESCO cities of literature. And 3 Dublin-born writers were awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. There's lots and lots of memorabilia there to other famous Dublin-born writers. The Nobel Prize winners were William Butler Yeats, George Bernard Shaw and Samuel Beckett, and there is an entrance fee into the Writers' Museum. We've come full circle, we're heading back down towards the Docklands Tour. We've come around the square to our right hand side. It's now called Parnell Square. And this is what's known as a Georgian square, again from the 18th century. 5 squares were laid out in Dublin City. The largest of them is St. Stephen's Green. St. Stephen's Green is on the Purple Road, stop number 7 on the top of Grafton Street. Square beside us, it's now full of hospital administration buildings, but it was an open park, and this was the place to see and be seen in Georgian Dublin. Entrance to the park, the building just ahead of us there, the pillars are over the entrance, and this building housed tea rooms and supper rooms. Patrons were charged 1 shilling entrance fee into the tea rooms and supper rooms, and then access to the gardens in behind. And the money gained at the admission on the door went towards the funding of the hospital around the corner, Dr. Moss's lying-in hospital. It was called a lying-in hospital because in medical practice back in the day, when women went into hospital to give birth, they were prescribed lots and lots of bed rest, about 6 days bed rest after the birth of the child. So hence we get the term lying-in hospital. Dublin for any more than 5 minutes, you'll have realised that it's absolute traffic chaos in the city centre, all hindered by these roadworks that we're surrounded by. This is the result of tram lines being laid out. Yes. The building here to our right hand side, this was the entrance to the tea rooms and supper rooms. But then in 1926 the building was converted into a theatre. It's still a theatre, it's Dublin's Gate Theatre. Famous actors supposed to tread the boards in the gate, including James Mason and Orson Welles. They both started their acting careers here in Dublin. The hospital, the maternity hospital, is around the corner to our right, and it was called Dr. Moss's Lying-In Hospital, but quickly took on the name the Rotunda after this annex building was added on. This circular building just to our right hand side, so it's now called the Rotunda Maternity Hospital. Street straight ahead of us. The monument just in front of us here, that's a national hero. His name was Charles Stewart Parnell, leader of the Home Rule Party. And their main aim was to have Ireland free from the colonial shackles of the British Empire. Parnell, sometimes referred to as the uncrowned King of Ireland. His remains are buried in Parnell's cemetery. Docklands Street in front of us, and this street, again laid Easter week of April 1916 and commonly referred to as the Easter Rising. And the main aim of the Easter Rising was a group of armed rebels, and their aim was to break Ireland free from the colonial shackles. Our stop number 3. We're going to take a left turn here, heading to our stop number 4. Stop number 4 for us is a place called Busaras. We're turning on to Abbey Street, and a name synonymous with Abbey Street is Dublin-born poet and Nobel Prize winner for literature, William Butler Yeats. At the start of the 20th century, Yeats was very involved with the Irish literary revival. And in 1904, he founded the Abbey Theatre. Abbey Theatre is the National Theatre of Ireland. It's the building over here to our front right, and entrance just around the corner there on Marlborough Street. The original Abbey building burnt to the ground in the 1950s and was replaced by this structure here in the 1960s. And a relatively inexpensive night to visit the National Theatre in Dublin. Ticket prices are around 25 to 30 euro, and by international standards that's a fairly economical night out to visit the National Theatre. The Peacock just on our right hand side, that's a sister theatre of the Abbey, a much smaller stage area located down in the basement of the building. Straight ahead of us, that bridge is a rail line bridge. We're going to go onto that bridge. This rail line, Dublin is on the east coast of the island. We're really close to the coastline here. And this rail line runs down almost the entire east coast from Belfast, about 150 metres up to our 150 kilometres up to our left hand side, via Dublin at the midway point, and on down the coastline to a ferry port called Rosslare. That's the main line rail. The line also serves a rail system that we call the DART. It's an electrified commuter rail system, serves Dublin City and County. DART stands for Dublin Area Rapid Transit. And there's a DART there just to qualify what I'm saying. The place our stop for, Busaras, it's a Gaelic term and it translates as home of the buses, and it's an intercity bus station for provincial buses from all corners of the island. They converge onto this depot here in Dublin. Out to our right hand side, also from the Georgian period, this building was completed in 1792. And it was designed by the chief architect of Dublin's Georgian period. His name was James Gandon. That's the back of the building. The front of it faces out onto the River Liffey. The Busaras building, it's this here on our left hand side. We're going to go around this building. This was opened in 1953, caused huge controversy because in the 1950s Dublin and Ireland were dirt poor, and many of the citizens of the city were living in slums. So when the government decided to splash out £1 million on the bus station, it caused outrage and uproar with the hard-pushed citizens of the city. Probably rightly felt that the money would have been far better off on so much needed social housing. £1 million back in the 50s would have provided thousands upon thousands of modest 2 up, 2 down, red brick family homes. built instead. It was built in a style of architecture. At the time it was American International. This was ultra modern. And his name, Jim Larkin, probably referred to as the big Jim Larkin. He was a socialist trade union founder, and he organised the tram workers back in the day, all the way back to 1913. He organised the tram workers into a union to get better treatment by their employer, William Murphy. William Murphy refused to recognise the status of the union, and he locked out the workers. He wouldn't allow them to cross the gate. It led to one of the most acrimonious industrial disputes in Europe at the time. It known as the lockout. Several of the striking workers were killed on charges by the constabulary. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed the tour. Any directions you need, I'm here to help.
Thank you.
Yeah.